Yeah, thanks so much, Jen, and thanks for Eric. Look, for more on the impeachment trial happening in the Senate today, beginning in the Senate today, I want to bring in a constitutional scholar and professor of federal jurisprudence at Columbia University, Philip Bobbitt. Philip, I want to read what President Trump's lawyers said about the impeachment process. They wrote, quote, "Conviction at an impeachment trial requires the possibility of a removal from office. The Senate is being asked to do something patently ridiculous, try a private citizen in a process that is designed to remove him from an office that he no longer holds." Essentially, they're saying you cannot impeach or convict, I should say, a former president, somebody who's not in office. What does the Constitution say about this?
Well, the Constitution is quite explicit on this point. Article 2, Section 4 says, "The President, Vice President, and all civil officers of the United States shall be removed from office on impeachment for and conviction of treason, bribery, or other high crimes and misdemeanors." So the authority for the House to impeach and the Senate to try and convict comes not just from Article 1, which addresses the houses of Congress, really from that language I just read you in Article 2, and therefore it applies to the President, Vice President, and all civil officers. It does not apply to military officers. It doesn't apply to private persons.
So what would you say to Republicans who would push back and say, what is the precedent that this sets here, Professor, that you can try any president who has served in office before?
Yeah, I think they're right to be concerned, Republicans or Democrats. The framers departed from the British practice, which did try private persons and did try former officials who are now private persons and who are not civil officials, quite studiedly. And indeed, they put in a separate section barring bills of attainder, which is a way of saying what happens when a legislature tries someone and punishes them. The framers were concerned about this, and I think we should be. I understand the legitimate passion to rid ourselves of an experience like the one we had on January 6th and make certain it doesn't happen again and the people responsible for it are not in office. But I think it is right to be worried that in the future, if you can start impeaching former officials, then you'll have some new Donald Trump will come along and say that some new Hillary Clinton, who is no longer Secretary of State, should be impeached. I think it goes against the text, which I just read you, and I think there is legitimate cause to be concerned about the downstream precedents.
Okay, so how do you think the Senate should proceed then?
I think the Senate should take testimony if it wishes. The Senate can expose for the country what happened. They can even try the case. What they cannot do is they cannot convict because there's simply no authority to convict a private person.
So we do know, Professor, well, I shouldn't say we know, but it's seeming pretty likely that a non-conviction is really all but guaranteed. I'm wondering about the element of this where you could bar Trump from serving future federal office. Is that possible in terms of what the senators can do without necessarily convicting him in the Senate?
No, that's not possible.
So they have to convict him in the Senate in order to bar him from running in the future?
That's right. We've had about 20 impeachments, 8 convictions. Of those 8, 3 have been disqualified from holding a future federal office. The vote to convict is a 2/3 vote. The vote to disqualify is a majority vote. No, you couldn't simply start barring people from office by a majority vote of the Senate. No.
Well, it raises the question what this trial means for democracy. On the one hand, I think many Democrats would argue that the president needs to be held accountable. But on the other hand, you raise some really serious concerns about impeaching office holders, former office holders, after they've left office, and it could set up a dangerous precedent. What does the trial mean for democracy?
Well, I think it cuts both ways. On the one hand, the trial means that the members of Congress who are elected in a democracy want to protect the procedures of Congress. The attack on the Congress, January 6th, is really without precedent in our country's history. The effort to try to stop a legitimate rulemaking, carrying through the acceptance of the slates of electors, to halt that by violence is something that a democracy simply cannot tolerate. It cannot operate in conditions like that. On the other hand, if we want to disqualify Donald Trump from holding future office, the way to do that is through the ballot box. Donald Trump lost the House in 2018. He almost single-handedly lost the Senate in 2020, and he lost the presidency decisively. I'm not especially worried about Donald Trump as a candidate, and I think that the democracy is robust enough to rebuff him should he come into the list again.
Well, there you have it. Professor, we got to leave it there. Thank you so much for joining us on Quick Take again. Great to see you this morning. That's Professor Philip Bobbitt, Professor of Federal Jurisprudence at Columbia University.